So if you're watching this, you're probably watching this on Facebook. That's where I get most of my views. And since I haven't really expanded, man, I'm thinking about going to BitChute or Dailymotion or whatever, but I simply don't have the funds or the technology. All I have is a camera and lots of time on my hands and a willingness to speak. Everything else will sort itself out later. It's sort of like the banana peel in the beginning. I don't take myself that seriously. But I do talk about serious things sometimes, and this article, which I just found on Facebook as well, talks about advertising female genital mutilation, or what is sometimes euphemistically called female circumcision, on Facebook. And they were advertising this in Indonesia, and the cost was about $10. And so you could click on this service, and they were doing mass mutilations of young girls in Indonesia. Now, female genital mutilation, FGM, as Reza Aslan said, is an African problem, not an Islamic problem. Now, okay, what part of Africa is Indonesia in? So if I'm not mistaken, it's a bit closer to me. It's not too far from Vietnam here. It's between us and Australia. And, I've been to the Philippines, and the Philippines has 7,000 islands, I remember that, and Indonesia has 10,000 islands, and makes it, I believe, it's the most populated Islamic country in the world. And so the fact that it's being sold and that so many of these girls are experiencing this horrible procedure, in Islamic centers, well, it's an Islamic country, is just proof that there is something amiss about Islam when it comes to the idea of circumcision. Now, maybe I've talked about this before, but I don't know. I studied Arabic at one point, and I read a translation of the Quran. I got a copy shortly after 9/11, actually. They mailed it out to me for free, and it was askitwhyislam.org, I think, and I just wrote them an email, and they sent me a copy, and I had it on my shelf for a while, and I read it, and I thought maybe it would be time to convert. And one of the reasons, and not the sole reason, but certainly a significant reason that I chose against it, is that I would have to change certain things about me, like my name, and I would need to get cut. I would need to get circumcised. Even though there is disagreement, there are Ahmadiyas who say it's not a thing or whatever, but really, if you look at the core of Islam, and what I consider the core of Islam would be the Sunni Islam, the Islam that is practiced at the Kaaba, the Islam that is practiced in Saudi Arabia is the most authentic. But we see that in any Islamic teaching there is an emphasis on circumcision, not just for men, but also for girls now. Now, for a man, it doesn't affect much, from what I can tell. I don't know. I wouldn't want it done, but if I did have the procedure, or if I needed it, I don't think it would bother me that much, because it doesn't take away anything from sexual pleasure. But the specific point of harming the girls like this, of cutting away the clitoris, is because the clitoris is the center of pleasure, because this is what gives women, there is... It's different, but it's like an equal sexual force. There is feeling, there is a payoff for women, And so the idea is that, well, you cut this away, and then she'll only think of it'll be like a chore for her. It won't be anything pleasurable. This will just be to, she'll know that her place in the world is just to procreate and not to have fun with this or anything. It's barbaric, and it is one of many examples of how women and girls are treated in the Islamic world. And that's another reason, a big reason why I chose against Islam, even though I would later go to Saudi Arabia, is that, you aren't just allowed to see women as your equals, as your friends. No, it's something different. Well, I accept, of course, I talk about men's rights and stuff, and I accept that there are differences between men and women. I think that healthy societies are ones where we're allowed to interact, maybe with a few protocols or rules, but there isn't such a thing as hijabs and genital mutilation and all this. Just really sad. And it's not coming down from tribes, it's coming down from religious leaders, right? It's coming down from imams and stuff. So unlike, as Reza Aslan said, it's an African problem, not an Islamic problem. Okay, who are these Africans that are practicing this? It's not the Christians who are doing it. From what we can see, it's not a tribal thing. It's not something that has to do with any old pagan religion. It's directly associated with Islam. Now, I have nothing against Muslims, but I do think that any philosophy, any religion should be scrutinized, and it's not above that, especially when it leads to hurting, really hurting, damaging, sometimes killing our most vulnerable daughters. Over and out.